Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
Picture this. You are trying to buy a birthday gift online, but every single action, scrolling, clicking, even typing, takes just one puff of air. Every choice you make happens one focus ring at a time. That's how thousands of people experience the web with switch devices. And it's something we, as designers and developers, often forget when building our custom UI. Welcome back to Web Accessibility for All. Today we are diving into a world that's often invisible in our work, the experience of people who navigate the web using switch devices. This episode isn't about checklists or technical specs. It's about empathy and understanding what it's really like for users relying on these unique tools.
What is a switch device?
Imagine having very limited physical movement. Maybe you can't use your hands or fingers easily, but you can control a single switch, like pressing a big button, sipping or puffing air into a tube, or even moving your head slightly. That's where switch devices come in. Switch devices are assistive technologies designed to help people with significant motor impairments interact with computers and digital devices using one or a few single inputs. They turn this simple, often singular action into a way to navigate complex digital environments.
The core of switch control, sequential scanning.
When it comes to how switch devices work, the core concept is scanning. The interface, whether it's a website or an app, highlights or focuses sequentially on every interactive element, one at a time. The user watches or listens to this scanning process and activates their switch to select the currently highlighted item. Slow, cumbersome? For many users, it's the only way to interact effectively.
Switch access on laptops and tablets.
On a laptop, switch access usually integrates with the operating system's built-in accessibility features, like Windows Switch Control or Mac OS Switch Control, which let users navigate the desktop environment, browse web pages, and control apps in a consistent way. The laptop's keyboard and mouse can be fully replaced or augmented by the switch scanning system, allowing users to press keys or buttons through scanning and selection. On tablets and smartphones, users rely on switch access features embedded in iOS's Assistive Touch or Android Accessibility Suite. The scanning highlights elements on the touch screen, and a switch press triggers virtual tab or gesture.
A full user journey, shopping with a switch.
Let's imagine Carlos, who has spinal muscular atrophy and uses a sip and puff switch connected to his Windows laptop. His system is set up to scan through focusable elements on the screen, puff to advance focus, sip to activate and select the focused element. Let's walk through Carlos's journey shopping online.
1. Landing on the home page.
Picture him landing on a homepage where the interface starts auto-scanning elements one by one. He uses a path to move forward and a zip to select. When the site is built with semantic HTML, where buttons and links are properly coded, this navigation feels smooth and intuitive. But if developers rely on generic div elements styled as buttons without proper roles, it's like Carlos hitting invisible walls. The switch can't recognize them as actionable items.
2. Navigating to the shop.
Focus lands on a
Shop now.
button. He zips to activate it. There is a visible focus ring, so Carlos knows where he is.
3. Filtering products.
When the site uses native select dropdowns for filter, Carlos can easily scroll through options and pick what he wants. But custom filters that don't follow ARIA guidelines or ignore keyboard support turn the process into a dead end. He can't get past the first step, and his shopping trip ends there.
4. Selecting a product.
Moving on to product selection, well-structured product cards that use clear headings, images, and properly labeled buttons make a huge difference. On the flip side, if buttons rely only on icons without descriptive ARIA labels, Carlos is left guessing what each button does. That uncertainty can mean giving up altogether.
5. Reviewing the cart.
When he adds items to the cart, things get trickier. Modal dialogues can be a lifesaver if they trap focus correctly. But if the focus escapes to the background page, or worse, disappears, Carlos can get lost and disoriented, like falling into a maze.
6. Proceeding to checkout.
The checkout form is the final hurdle. Carlos reaches the final step, submitting the order. Once he activates the
Place order.
button, what happens next is crucial. If a confirmation message pops up and disappears too quickly, or if it shows up in a completely different part of the screen, Carlos might not even realize the purchase was completed. For someone navigating one focusable item at a time, it's essential that the confirmation message is visually persistent, clearly positioned, and ideally close to where Carlos just was. If it appears in a predictable spot, like just below the order button, and doesn't fade away automatically, that's a win. It gives Carlos confidence that the action succeeded, without needing to scan the entire interface again.
How to test for switch accessibility.
Testing for switch accessibility starts with understanding how these devices interact with your UI. Since switch devices rely heavily on sequential focus movement, the first and most important test you can do is to try using your interface with just the keyboard. You want to make sure every interactive element is reachable in a logical order, and every control can be activated with a single key press, such as Enter or Space.
Official resources.
The W3C's Web Accessibility Initiative provide excellent guidance for switch access under the broader accessibility frameworks. The ARIA authoring practices include specific patterns that help developers build components that behave well under assistive technologies, including switch devices. Universities and research labs specializing in assistive tech have also produced practical evaluation checklists and usability testing protocols that involve actual Switch users. For example, the Trace Center at the University of Wisconsin is a renowned resource for assistive technology research. They shared insights on Switch access that are very developer-friendly. One common recommendation is:
use the built-in switch access features on your operating system to test your UI.
Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android all include switch control or switch access settings. By turning these on, you can experience firsthand what a Switch user experiences. It forces you to navigate your site or app by scanning, focus, and single press selection.
Dev and design takeaways.
Use semantic HTML.
It all starts with semantic HTML. Real buttons, inputs, and labels come with built-in accessibility that just works. If you have to create custom components, follow the way area authoring practices closely, and make sure keyboard behavior mimic native elements exactly.
Proper focus management.
Focus should always be clearly visible and move in a predictable order. Users shouldn't have to guess where the focus lands next, and the focus should never disappear from view.
Predictable interactions.
Avoid designs that rely only on mouse input. Switch users can't rely on hovering or dragging, so your interface must be fully operable using just keyboard controls.
Always test first.
When testing, put away the mouse and try using only the keyboard. If that is frustrating or difficult, it's a sign the interface needs work.
Be patient with your users.
Don't design interfaces that automatically rotate content too quickly or make messages vanish before the user has time to read or hear them. Everyone benefits when you give people enough time to understand and act.
Wrap up.
Designing and developing, having Switch device users in mind, isn't about edge cases or special users. It's about inclusion and remembering that behind every focus ring is a real person trying to live their life with dignity and independence. Thanks for listening to Web Accessibility for All. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments. Until next time, keep building accessible experiences that welcome everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.